Thank you so much. Hi, Theresa, compulsive overeater and alcoholic, and member of Emotional Sobriety. Very proud member of Emotional Sobriety. So I'm gonna be showing some of my art. And let me tell you why. Um, I have to have coping mechanisms. I have to have the ability to make it through the day when different emotions come up. And I've learned through this meeting that I don't have to always react to the emotions based on the feeling that I have, that I can use various tools. And the first part of what I want to talk about, I'm going to share my screen first and let you see that first. And all right, here we go. It's a real short trailer. That's what I call this, a trailer. Okay, so that helps me kind of give myself a little bit of a start to this. When I think really deep into my addictions, and I have a few, um, I think about, when I was in the addiction, I used whatever my substance was, alcohol, drugs, food, to bring me some type of pleasure from whatever emotion, situation, person, place, or thing was bringing me harm or agony or whatever. So I would turn to the drug so that I can feel better. And it worked. It gave me a certain type of pleasure that I enjoyed the way it felt. And I would have a sense of peace, after smoking some weed, drinking, doing the thing that I was doing, going to eat whatever I wanted to eat. I would have a certain amount of peace and I would enjoy those things until it just didn't work anymore. It was an overindulgence to bring something that I didn't know at the time, but I know now that I already had inside of me a certain amount of internal peace and internal pleasure instead of using these external things that I actually have to think about it first, make sure I have enough money to go get it, then consume it, and just keep doing it over and over and over again to try to continue to reach whatever pleasure it was giving me. Instead of embodying those emotions, dealing with whatever it was that I was experiencing that was not bringing me pleasure, that was bringing me some type of internal or even sometimes external pain. I learned a lot of those things here in emotional sobriety. Once I went through the 12 steps in my AA and OA meetings, I first, and this is how I kind of categorize it. When I first started, I'll be 5 years sober in October, and this is my 4th year in OA. And I've been coming to this meeting, I think, about almost 3 years. So when I first had a sponsor, we kind of went through the steps because I didn't know what the steps were. I never, had an addiction or a problem or, something that I couldn't control. And that's why I ended up going to rehab for alcoholism because I had no control over it. Every time I said I was going to stop, I would. Same thing with certain foods. It wasn't any different. So I went through the steps so I can understand what the steps were. I'm like, I'm reading this book, I'm reading these steps, and I don't know what they actually mean. So after I did that, then I start working the steps. I started reading it again so that I can have a different level of understanding with it. I started going to different meetings so I can hear different people and different experiences. And then finally, where I am right now in my program, both my programs, now I'm living the steps. And what does that mean? That means that, I'm helping others a lot. That's one. That's the biggest thing, where I help others go through the steps. I just finished the 12-step, 12 days of like a newcomer 12-day program. So now I know how to be a temporary sponsor for people, which is kind of the direction I want to go because my schedule is crazy, especially right now. It's crazy. And it's very difficult for me to fit in a lot of time over making money. I have to, I have to have living, I have to pay my bill. So, but I still make time for others. And that's part of living the steps and doing step 10, 11, 12 every day. Usually at night, I'm doing my 10th step. That's basically how I got to the point of living the steps. There's so much more in between. But what it takes is, for me, what it took was for me to go to different meetings, have different experiences, listen to different professionals when they correlate their skill with addiction. I get that a lot here in this meeting. I remember when I had a chance to interview Dr. Andrew Newberg. Was it Newberg? I think it's Newstein. Okay. So, but anyway, he talked about how the brain functions when it comes to prayer and meditation. He helped me a lot to understand the importance of prayer and meditation. And then when we have different people who talk about neuroplasticity, how certain activities actually aid the brain function. All these different things helps me as an addict to understand that, first of all, I'm an addict for life. Okay. That's not going to go away. There are certain foods I cannot eat because if I eat them, I will consume the whole container. As much as I want to, I cannot smoke weed because I already know what's going to happen. And thank my higher power, I have absolutely no desire to drink. I actually feel cool to not drink, to be around people who can't drink and do drink and get drunk. And I'm fine with that. That's them. And what it took for me to be where I am now, and I am nowhere near me being able to say that I am a recovered whatever, not a recovered alcoholic, I'm not a recovered compulsive overeater. I am going to constantly be in recovery. What it took for me to be where I am now is to change very little things. Because all of those things turned into habits. They were really bad habits that eventually turned into an addiction. A habit is something we do mindlessly, even though it could be a good habit, it could be a bad habit. But we do it just regularly. Brush our teeth. No, I mean, we need to do that. You know, good habit. And then there's bad habits. So all of those little habits that I created to form an addiction actually taught me something. It taught me to flip the switch and find what I really want. And what I really want is to be sober. What I really want is to eat healthfully. What I really want is to exercise regularly. What I really want is to have a healthy life. What I really want is to help others. In order for me to get those things, I have to change those negative habits that I used to do into smaller little habits, one day at a time. I'm reading this book called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And it's a really good book. First, I listened to the audio and then I read the book. And it's helping me understand how to make minor changes. I like to cook, but I also like to watch sports. So, I combine two good things together. While I'm cooking, I have the sports on instead of cooking and mindlessly eating. It's a whole lot of different things that I combine that work together. And these things, when I do those things, I can see that I'm being more productive. I can see that I don't think about the negative habits that I used to do. And I slowly make change. And with that, I'm going to play another video that kind of explains a little bit of that. It's called Take a Chance. when I started, when I got out of rehab and I started going to meetings online because COVID had happened, I got out of rehab. 3 months later, COVID happened. It was crazy. But I had to, without a doubt, take a chance at stuff that I was like, I would never do. Talk about how I felt, talk about all the crap I did, just to heal from this disease. Find a higher power. What? I grew up Pentecostal. I had a problem with the stories in the Bible. It wasn't something that I believed. I would go to church, Sunday school when I was a kid. And I love Sunday school. And I love Sunday school because we got a chance to sit at the table and read. I loved reading. We were reading the Bible. And when we got to parts like, how it all started, I think that's Genesis. I was like, is this real? Now I'm a kid. I'm not even 10 yet. No, I was under 10 years old. And every time it was time for me to read, which I read a lot because the Sunday school teacher enjoyed my reading, I would always ask a question, and I got in trouble for that because she told my mom. And my mom said, you don't question the Bible. You follow it. I said, but I don't understand. I knew the difference between real and not real and fairy tale. I knew that. So as I grew up, I always questioned stuff. In third grade, I remember this. We were at parent-teacher conferences, and my teacher, Ms. Thomas, said, Theresa is a great student, but she asks too many questions. And my mom, when we got home, she told me to stop asking so many questions. And then I said, but Mom, isn't that what you're supposed to do in school? You're supposed to ask questions. So I had a problem finding a religion because that's the only thing I knew at that time. I was Muslim because my brother was Muslim, so I followed that for a little while. But I didn't like the separation of men and women. So I was like, that's not for me. And then I had a friend who was Buddhist, and she talked a lot about that. And then I was trying to understand that, and I understood it, but keep in mind, I'm still drinking, I'm still getting high, I'm still doing all the stuff I'm not supposed to do. I couldn't connect that to who I was as a person. And I didn't get that connection until I got into these rooms. When I understood that it's not about being religious, following some, denomination. It's about what's inside of me, my own experiences, what I believe, my own spirituality. And that's when I really kind of got it. I've always had it. I just didn't know how to use it. My mom, if she would have taught me about spirituality, which she had, instead of Pentecostal church, I think I would have gotten it because my mom was a very just nice, beautiful, spiritual person at home. At church, she was churchy. But at home, she was using what she learned at church with her family, with her home environment. And it was always peaceful. And I remember when one of us, it was 7 of us, when we did something wrong, and she didn't feel like she can handle it, she said, I'm going to turn that over to the Lord. Just like I say now, I'll let my higher power work with that. And I pray every day. And she would say, I'm going to pray for you tonight. That's how she lived her life. And now I understand it. Because if you truly believe that there's a power greater than yourself, that power will guide you to do the next right thing. That's what I have been experiencing. But I let my will come in very often. When I think about certain parts of what we do in our meetings, this last video I'm going to show you has really helped me have acceptance. It helped me live in peace. I deal with a lot of different people from around the world with my work, and there are different attitudes and different beliefs that I have to deal with. But the fact that I have this program, the fact that I'm able to go through my day in a peaceful and serene way, no matter what happens, it just helps me in so many ways. So this is the last one I'm going to show you. Hopefully I have a couple of minutes after. Patrick asked me to speak yesterday. So I think it was yesterday or the day before. And I did not know that I was going to be speaking today. And 30 minutes is a nice long time to speak. So what my art means a lot to me because I didn't start, I've always been like a doodler. You know, I would draw as a kid and people would say, oh, you're a pretty good artist. I never took my art seriously until COVID happened because I had time. You know, I never had time for my art. And I remember drawing something and I said, okay, I'm going to these meetings. So let me use, you know, my art as a profile picture because I see other people with profile pictures. So I'm like, okay, I'll do that. And then people start saying things like, oh, I like your art. I like your art. So if that hadn't happened, I still wouldn't have been taking my art seriously. But people in the rooms were saying to me, oh, that's nice. What does it mean? What does it mean? And I rarely tell people what it means because before when I was drawing, I would draw some real deep, dark, crazy stuff. And one person said, I like that art, but it's just too scary. You know, so I started drawing things that's not as scary, but it still has some kind of crazy stuff in it. So you know, every piece of art that I draw has something to do, like 90%, because a lot of my art too, I draw for other people, but 90% of it has something to do with me and my experience with addiction. That I, I can't remember. Let's see, it was the taking chances one, the middle one, the very first one. First piece was a girl standing holding a book, and there's a street, a whole lot of people walking, and there's a building. That's me as a kid, and it's called A Girl's Imagination. And I've always had a different kind of imagination. It's timing. I got 29 minutes. And that was a good thing, and that was a bad thing because I was very inquisitive about too many things. Some of the things got me to where I am now with my addictions. And some of them got to me where I am now with my art. So it's really a matter of me understanding my place in the world, understanding, thank you, Amy, understanding what I can do for others, understanding that my higher power, no matter what, will guide me. I just have to listen. I have to make the changes. And I have to believe that pleasure can be internal and it can be external. And I have to have the serenity to know the difference. And with that, I'll keep coming back.